You've had a little bit of experience with the Niobrara.
A little. And again,
That's
a few scars before we got it worked out.
Talk to me a little bit about your experience with the oily shale development in the Niobrara now and the history of it. Just kind of, I mean, arguably the Niobrara is the grandfather of these shale plays, certainly the oily ones, and you appear to have a bit of history in that neighborhood.
It's been very interesting because you've been with me on much of this journey. We started fracking the Niobrara on its own in the vertical wells in the early 90s. And so the small independent company that I work for, we did many of the Niobraras separately. And we're one of the few companies to not combine the Codell and Niobrara together. So we were able to see the results. The results, I will say, were mixed. And we didn't have the surfactant packages or the CnF packages we do now, the breakers, etc. But it was encouraging enough, you would see enough good wells for us to constantly say, this Niobrara is something for us to look for.
So the transition then, one of the transitions that I hear you just saying is that we brought in this CnF technology. Did it affect the play?
It affected it greatly. There was three things that I saw that were the major changes that having worked in all these different basins or different areas, I've never seen it be such a dramatic change. In approximately 2004, we brought in the CnF type products. We switched from a fully cross-linked system to the hybrid system, so we were adding less polymer, and we came up with better breaker packages. So all three of those improved conductivity and gave us cleaner fractures, cleaner natural fractures to work with. And that was, we were working with the same vertical well borers, pumping the same volumes, the same amount of proppant, and getting 90% of the wells were productive versus 50%. And I think,
play that tape again.
I think it's, when I look at, I talked to all the operators who went through this phase with us, we all had the same surprise. We all thought it would be better, but it became a statistical play where we went from not 50% of the wells were successful in the Niobrara vertically to 90% of the play was suddenly productive. And primarily because, again, of CnF, improving conductivity, going to the hybrid fracs, using less polymer, and having better breaker systems for that.
The Utica is a hot topic right now. The Eagleford, the Wolf Camp and all of its goofy names, the Wolf Bone and the whatever. Does this knowledge base apply to those, do you think?
I think very much so. I think, again, we're going to have high GOR, low GOR parts of the basin. We're going to have different API gravity oils. We're going to have different paraffin, asphaltenes. Every one of those, you could take a CnF type product and initially start out with maybe a basic one. But I would look at going to the basin and I would look to tailor a specific product for my specific oils or whatever my reservoir fluids are. And also the other part you might start to tailor is, as we start looking into water use, whether you're going to have to use reused water or regular fresh water. Again, being able to tie in a particular CnF product not only with the reservoir properties but also with particular water you have to use.
I kind of heard you get into the discussion about gas oil ratios. Since there's such a price differential between the two now, does CnF have any role to play in that discussion?
Yeah, very much so. I think one of the things that I see with it is that by using CnF, it allows me to lower my capillary pressures, and that's the other evolution in the last 30 years that I've seen is the permeability differences that we worked with millidarcy rock, now we work with nanodarcy rock. And our ability to be able to get that oil out of that tight of rock, I need to be able to reduce my capillary pressures. So what it allows me to do by lowering my capillary pressure is I can produce at a lower bottom hole or a higher bottom hole flowing pressure.
Lower differentials.
Lower differentials, and still be able to produce that oil back through that. And it does kind of go back to this, to what everyone's doing right now is, I don't want to pull my formations down too hard, worried that we're going to possibly hurt reserves, but still I have to maintain a high enough production rate to be economic. And so by doing this, I don't have to pull my wells as hard by having the CnF product, and I can still get acceptable production rates.